Hi everyone. We are doing a math lesson today on multiplying unit fractions by whole numbers. And so to start, we're actually going to start off pretty basic and talk about how when we write addition sentences, we can also write them as multiplication sentences. So I have two examples here that I'm going to walk you through, and then I'm going to have you guys do one on your own. So if I was doing 2 plus 2 plus 2, I know that 2 plus 2 is 4, and then 4 plus 2 is 6. So I know 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. But I know that I can actually write that in an easier way. I know that 2 plus 2 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 times 3. I know that 2 times 3 equals 6 because I have 1, 2, 3 2's, so I'm doing 2 times 3 equals 6. Below, I'm going to do the same exact thing. It applies to however many multiples you have of the same number. So if I have 30 plus 30 plus 30, I know that 30 plus 30 is 60, and 60 plus 30 is 90. If I want to change my addition sentence into a multiplication sentence, I see that I have 3 30's, so I'm going to say 30 times 3 equals 90. I'm going to put one more up here, and I would like you guys to pause the video and solve it yourself. If I had the addition sentence 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, I would like you to tell me what that equals, and then I'd like you to also give me the multiplication sentence like I did in these other two examples. So you can pause the video now and play it when you're ready to check your answer. If I'm doing 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, I know that 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16. If I'm writing this as a multiplication sentence, I have 4 4's, so I'm saying 4 times 4 equals 16. So this is how we can turn our addition problems into multiplication problems. And this is basic. I know you guys probably think this is review, but this is what we're going to use to build up to using unit fractions and whole numbers. So as one more review, we are going to talk about how we decompose fractions. And if you guys remember, decompose means to break something down. So when I'm decomposing a fraction, I'm breaking it into smaller parts. If I have the fraction 4/5, I know if I'm drawing a model, I would draw groups of 5, and then 4/5 would look like this. I would have 4 spots shaded in. I know that if my rectangle is split up into fifths, my unit fraction is 1/5. This is 1/5, this is 1/5, this is 1/5, this is 1/5, and this is 1/5. Right now, shaded in, I have 4/5 shaded in. I know that if I was going to decompose 4/5, I could break it into 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. There are also other ways for me to decompose this. I could say 3/5 plus 1/5, and I'm sure you guys can come up with a lot more options because I know this is something that we enjoyed doing in class and that you guys really got the hang of. So that is when I'm decomposing into unit fractions, all right? I would like you guys to tell me what the unit fraction would be for 6. I want you to draw a diagram like I did above, but split into 6. You're going to shade in 4 of them. I'd like you to tell me what the unit fraction is, and then I'd like you to split it up or to decompose it into unit fractions. You can pause the video and do this. I'm going to set up and show you guys how you would do it. If my fraction is 4/6, what I'm going to do is draw my bar diagram. I split it into 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I know that 4 of them are going to be shaded. 2, 3, 4. My unit fraction is going to be 1/6. And so I know that if I broke up my 4/6, I decomposed it into unit fractions, I would have 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6. If any of you decided to do 2/6 plus 2/6 or 3/6 plus 1/6, this is not breaking it up into unit fractions. I know that my unit fraction is 1/6, so if it asks you to break it into unit fractions, you have to break them down into their smallest unit fraction. So my only answer for this one would be 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6. I'm going to do one more example for you guys, just so we really know what it means when we're breaking it down into unit fractions. If my fraction is, let's say, 3/4, if I'm breaking it down into unit fractions, I know my unit fraction is going to be 1/4, because that's one section. And so if I'm decomposing it, I'm going to say 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4. This is what we're focusing on today. I want my unit fractions. I want them to be that 1 over however many equal parts that I have. Today we are going to be talking about how we multiply fractions we multiply unit fractions by whole numbers, okay? So I'm going to use my example 3/4 again. And when you guys are doing these examples, I would like you to be following along with this now. You can watch my first one, and then you're going to do the second one with me, all right? It is very important when we're starting this that we are using our bar diagrams. I want you guys to be drawing your bar diagrams. If I draw my bar diagram for 3/4, I'm splitting it up into 4, and 3 of my sections will be shaded. I know that when I decompose 3/4 as the sum of unit fractions, I will have 3/4 equals 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. So if I look at this, I know that there are 3 1/4 in 3/4. And I know this because we count 1/4 3 times. I count 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. Now this is where multiplication comes in. I can write this addition sentence as a multiplication sentence. I can write it as 3 times 1/4 equals 3/4, because I have 3/4 up here. 1, 2, 3. Just like how we did it with our whole numbers, I can do the same thing with my fractions. I have 1, 2, 3, so I did 3 times 1/4 equals 3/4. I want you guys to make sure that you have a piece of paper available, and we're going to do another one together. If my fraction that I want to represent as multiplying a unit fraction and whole number, let's say I do 6/8. If I draw my bar diagram, I'm going to split it into eighths. So split your bar diagram into eighths. And you know that it's 6/8, so you're going to color in 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know my unit fraction is going to be 1/8, and I have 6 pieces colored in. So I know that I will have 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. Now that's a lot to write, right? That's kind of a pain. I don't want to have to write that out every single time I'm decomposing my fractions. So I'm going to count out how many eighths I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6/8, so I can say 6 times 1/8 equals 6/8. So my multiplication sentence is 6 times 1/8. Okay? So that is how I multiply unit fractions by whole numbers. It actually saves you a lot of time because you don't have to be writing out all the different unit fractions that you added up when you decomposed your fraction, right? This also applies to improper fractions. So let's say my my fraction was 10/8. So I would have 2 more boxes over here. I know that if I color in my, I put my 10/8. Now I'd have 10 boxes filled in. But I know that my whole actually ends here, right? This is my 1. And then I have 2 extra ones over here on the side, all right, added in. I still write it the same way. Even if I have 1/8 written out 10 times, and so on, I would write it as 10 times 1/8. My unit fraction is still 1/8. I just have 10/8, all right? For practice, you guys are going to use your workbook. If you are confused and you are struggling with this, I'm going to put up another video where I walk through some of the workbook problems, all right? I hope you guys have a good day, and message me or email me if you are struggling with this. Bye, guys.